Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of the Team Daddy Weekly Recap. I am your host, Shapiro the Hero, aka Daddy Dreidels. Week 6 has come and gone, and it looks like we are starting to separate the contenders from the pretenders. This week we had a matchup with lots of potential that didn't live up to the hype. We had a case of fortunate bad luck, and we saw the standings level themselves out. We'll go around the league with scores and standings and preview our not one, but two matchups of the week in Week 7. All that and more right after this word from our sponsor. This week's sponsor is Huggies Wipes. Whether you're wiping the bottom of your baby or you're wiping away the competition, Huggies Wipes will get the job done. As always, we'll start off this week's recap with our matchup of the week. In what was billed as a battle of the top two teams, I put my undefeated record up against Brett. And when the dust settled, I really creamed Brett. Final score 157.95 to 93.6. In the largest blowout of the week, I was led by, of all people, Juju Smith-Schuster with his 31.3 points. I also got 20-point gains from Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, and Mark Andrews. Brett got the bulk of his points from Brandon Ayuk with 28.3, but saw only two other players even break double digits. With his loss, Brett drops to 4-2 and falls 2 places in the standings. He will take on Cheese in Week 7 in our first matchup of the week, while I will look to stay undefeated against Zach. And speaking of Zach, he had the unfortunate pleasure of putting up the league's lowest score this week as he lost to Kyle 153.58 to 93.2. Tyreek Hill led the way for Kyle with 34.7 points, and he also got 25.1 from Ramondre Stevenson. As for Zach, his leading scorer was Alvin Kamara with 18.4 points. However, only 3 other players broke double digits for Zach's team, and he even got a negative score from Jeff Wilson. However, at 2-4, Zach feels that he is not out of it, as rumors are swirling that he will be a buyer now that trading draft picks are open. As for Kyle, he has already started selling, looking to set himself up for next season. After his win this week, Kyle is also 2-4 and will take on our mentee in Week 7, while Zach will face me. In our closest matchup of the week, our mentee improved to 4-2 on the season after defeating Josh 149.6 to 122.7. It was Breece Hall leading the way for our mentee with 25.1 points, and he also got 23.9 from Jimmy G. Our mentee seems to have found his groove after a slow start to the season, as he has now won 3 in a row. As for Josh, he is trending in the opposite direction as he loses back-to-back weeks after starting the season 3-1. Despite 35.8 points from Stephon Diggs, Josh's captain dropped a goose egg as Josh himself drops to 3-3. He will look to end his slump next week against Jed in our other matchup of the week, while our mentee and Kyle will face off with half of our mentee's team on a bye. Turning to our overachiever of the week, George continued his impressive run with a 183.2 to 124.1 win over Jed. Jamar Chase finally had his breakout game as he led George's team with 41.2 points. In addition, George got 31.4 points from Michael Pittman and 27.3 points from Lamar Jackson. For Jed, Travis Kelce led the way with 24.2 points, and Jed also got big scores from Jalen Hurts and the Seahawks D. But after trading Kelce and Nick Chubb to Brett earlier today, can Jed really make a playoff push at 3-3? He'll face his brother Josh in the Riotica Bowl in Week 7, while 4-2 George will face Big John. And speaking of Big John, he was able to get back into the win column this week after beating PJ 168 to 124.3. Joe Burrow led the way for John with 48.5 points, leading all non-captains in scoring for Week 6. Big John also got big games from Deion Jackson and Jalen Waddle. As for the commish, PJ was led by Leonard Fournette with 22.1 points and Kyler Murray with 20.1. However, the 0 from Dalton Schultz and the 1 point from the Browns D kept PJ out of the win column for the 4th time this year. He will look to get back there in Week 7 against Swans, while Big John will try to make it 2 in a row against George. Our final matchup of the week saw Swans show that he came to play this year as he defeated Cheese 139.85 to 106.2. Josh Allen led the way for Swans with 37.65 points. He also got 23.4 points each from Chase Claypool and Captain Zeke Elliott. For Cheese, Captain Patrick Mahomes led all scorers in Week 6 with 51 points, but no one else on his team even scored 9. Cheese has now lost 3 in a row and falls to 1-5, while Swans has won 3 in a row and improves to 4-2. Swans will look to keep the winning streak going next week against PJ, while Cheese will try to stop the bleeding against Brett. Here are the league standings after Week 6. I am firmly in first at 6-0. George, Swans, Armenti, and Brett are all 4-2, and Josh is at 3-3. Big John currently holds the last playoff spot based on points, sitting at 2-4, just ahead of PJ, Jed, Kyle, and Zach. And at 1-5, Cheese is firmly in the basement and once again offering crap trades to everyone. With Week 7 upon us, the trading of draft picks is now open. We've already seen several big names on the move, including Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and Jonathan Taylor. Will we see any other big moves? Also, we have not one, but two matchups of the week this week to look forward to. Our first is the annual Riotica Bowl, pitting 3-3 Josh against 2-4 Jed. The other is a rivalry that goes back almost 20 years, as 1-5 Cheese will take on 4-2 Brett. Get your picks in, and don't forget your captains too. Next week is already the halfway point of the regular season, and we will almost definitely see the top teams buying and the bottom teams selling. As always, thank you so much for watching. This has been your Team Daddy Weekly Recap. I am Daddy Dreidels, and I will see you next time. L'chaim, motherfuckers!